Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Masterclass. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. I'm glad to be here and with all of you to talk a little bit about TradeStation. We are going to take a look at some indicators that are part of the TradeStation platform, try to understand them, and talk about the practicability of those indicators and why they exist. Today's title is Key Reversals and Pivots in Technical Analysis. So let's go ahead and take a look. We may have to go into the easy language of some of these studies. We may look at some strategies that are designed around the rules of these studies. So we have our hands full with a lot of content that we have to discuss. Before we jump into today's topic, though, let's go through some disclosures. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about is for educational purposes only, that these are not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, that active trading is not suitable for everyone, and past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. Today, since we're going to talk about technical analysis and some strategies, we may look at performance reports, and I just want everybody to be aware that what happens in history does not necessarily mean that will happen just like that going forward. So it's important that we understand the risks of trading online. If anybody needs additional information on these disclosures, please go to www.tradestation.com/important-information. It's great to see everyone here. Thank you for taking time out of your schedules to go through some of the studies around key reversals and pivot analysis. Let's go over here to our TradeStation platform. And let's get started with the simplest form of a key reversal. Let's try to understand what a key reversal is and how we can identify it on the TradeStation platform. As the name implies, this is an important point at which a reversal is expected. That's why it's called key reversal. In TradeStation, that has been built into the platform as a show me. So if you're looking for analysis techniques that are going to help you identify these key points or these key levels, then they're going to be in the Show Me category. So I'm going to go to Studies, click on Add Study. And remember that in order for you to go to the Show Me's category, you have to click on this tab called a Show Me. Show Me is more like a specialized type of analysis technique inside of the TradeStation platform that is designed to identify certain areas of the chart that are important. In this case, of course, those key levels or key reversals. If you go to the list here on Show Me's, you're going to find the key reversals. Start with a K, key reversal down, DN, and key reversal up, the one that ends in UP. We also have some pivots, which we're going to get to in a little moment, and try to understand the difference between the pivot high, pivot low, and this one right here that's named pivot, rev, gen, down. These are more like a reversal type of pivot. Let's go ahead and take a look at the technicalities and how it's utilized inside of the TradeStation platform. Well, let's go ahead and get started here with key reversal up and key reversal down. I'm going to do a multiple selection here in TradeStation, and I'm going to do that by holding down the control key. This allows you to do multiple selections within TradeStation. So if you want to add multiple studies at once, just hold down the control key and select all the studies that you want to add. Key reversal down, key reversal up. Of course, there's a couple things here that I wanted to show you before I jump over here to the chart. There's a way for you to prompt the study before it gets added to the chart. A lot of times you may have something personalized. Maybe you're looking at a certain parameter. The key reversal is something that can be customized to be something a little bit more sophisticated. So feel free to go into the inputs of the study to make them calculate the way you want. If you don't put a check here that says prompt for editing, the indicator will use whatever parameters were created by default. Of course, you can always come back and modify the study and change it to be whatever you want, but that's what the checkbox is there for you to either modify those parameters now, or you can leave it for later. You also have the ability to go into a definition, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. Definition is just TradeStation's documentation that explains what all these studies do. So not only for the key reversal, if you go to the list of studies here, which I'm sure if you've had some time at the TradeStation, you probably have explored many of the features and functionality of TradeStation. So you have a way here to find a documentation on any of these studies. So if something catches your eye and you say, what in the world is a fractal, for example? Now you can click on it, highlight it, and they go into the definition. There's probably some documentation that supports and gives you an idea of what the indicator is about. Another thing to note is that most of these studies that we find here are found on other platforms. So many of these were not built or were not, created or invented by TradeStation. There is a ton of education out there based on these basic ideas. So if you do, search for key reversal or a pivot, you're going to find a ton of information regarding how to trade these analysis techniques. So we may not focus exactly on the why, the why you would trade one of these techniques, but we're going to show you all the mechanics behind so you have an understanding on how these studies behave. And then you can determine whether you want to use them going forward or not. So let's go ahead and select these two. I am going to modify them a little bit. So I'm going to check this box that says prompt for editing. I'm not going to modify the parameters from the get-go, but I am going to change the way that the studies look on my TradeStation. Let me go ahead and click OK here. It's going to take me to the customize show me key reversal down. The only thing that I want to change for now is the style. This is a down show me or a down key reversal. I'm just gonna make the dot a little bit bigger and just check the color. The color here is red for a down key reversal, which is fine. I'm just going to keep it red. And for the up, it's giving me a cyan color. Let me make this a darker blue so that it goes along with my red. Red for down, blue for up. Let me go to style and make it thicker. So these are the type of things you can do to any study instead of TradeStation. It's great because it allows you to make your TradeStation platform the platform that you want to trade on. Even if it's just the smallest thing, like what the color is, what the style is. Let's go ahead and click OK here. And you can see that those dots are automatically added to my chart. One thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change the style of my chart because right now it's a candlestick. A candlestick showing me green and red for up and down candles. And I don't want the red of the candle to contradict or interfere with the red of my my key reversal down. So I'm going to change the style of this chart to a simple open, high, low, close bar. And I can do that on the Style tab. Style, OHLC. Notice that it changes it to just open, high, low, close bars. And now my dots stand out a little bit more. I understand what the dots are because I've used them before, but the red dots, those are my key reversal down, and the blue dots are my key reversal up. Now, what is the criteria behind a key reversal? A key reversal is a very simple bar pattern that takes a look at two individual, it's not two individuals, it takes a look at two bars, only two bars, and looks at the prices of those two bars to determine if a key reversal has happened or not. Let me go ahead and use the magnifying glass here on my TradeStation charting to zoom in into one of these key reversals. I'm going to click on the plus or the zoom in icon, and I'm going to zoom in this area right here. Notice that I'm just clicking and dragging to draw a box that I want to zoom into. When I release my mouse button, I'm looking at that section of the chart. So it's a very nice feature if you want to zoom in and then zoom out of the chart, because zooming out is very quick as well. I just have to go here to the bottom of the chart and click on the minus, and then I'm back on square one. So a lot of times, you don't want to really change the spacing. You don't really want to change anything about the chart. You just want to look a little bit more in detail, and you can use the magnifying glass for that. So plus, draw a box by clicking and dragging, and here you are. So this is a key reversal up. We can tell because it's a blue dot, and the blue dot by default is going to plot on the low of the bar. Not for any particular reason. I think it's just to emphasize the fact that this is a key reversal up. What constitutes a key reversal up? Two things. First, you need to have a lower low than the previous bar. Check. It's happening right here. You see how the low of the current bar is lower than the prior bar. Then, second, you need the closing price, which in this candle is all the way up here. The closing price needs to be higher than the prior bar. Check. It's happening on this condition. And this is the reason why here's a key reversal up. Sort of interesting, you know, it's kind of a contradicting pattern where you have prices that are pushing lower. That's the reason why we have this bar with a lower low. So prices are pushing lower, but all of a sudden we have an increase in price and the bar is able to close higher than what it did the day before. This is the daily charts. I'm referring to the daily or the bar before, which is the prior day. If you're looking at intraday bars, I mean, it would be the bar before, but in this case, it's the prior day's close. So it's like a contradicting pattern in the sense that it kind of was going down. All of a sudden, you know, we're going up. So is the price going to reverse? That's the key question. The key reversal implies that it's going to because of that contradiction in price. In fact, in this particular area, you can see how this key reversal up clearly stayed true to its definition where the prices reversed and went up. Let me go ahead and zoom out. Maybe not all the way that maybe a trader would want it to, but you can see that we were kind of in a downtrend. A key reversal manifested itself, and then the price just reversed and went in the right direction. So this is sort of a textbook definition of a key reversal and a perfect example of a key reversal up. It doesn't always happen like that. You know, a lot of times you're going to get a lot of false signals. For example, if you look a little bit further down on this price movement, we get a series of key reversals up that don't quite meet the same characteristics of this one in the sense of the price is reversing and going in the opposite direction. Maybe the first one a little, and the second two did not quite do it. Well, maybe this one too. Yeah, maybe a couple of days later, the prices went up. But a lot of times, you know, you're gonna find these situations where, yeah, the key reversal may provide you with a false signal. Now, how are you able to test this idea? This is a very simple idea, but the first question as a trader that you're going to ask yourself is this a tradable idea? Well, thankfully, TradeStation is a type of software that allows you to test historical ideas and see if something works or not. There are certain parameters of the key reversal that you can change and you can test and see if it fits the strategy that you're wanting to trade or not. Let's go ahead and take a look. By the way, this is a daily chart of Spider going back 2 years. I'm going to go here into the studies menu and click on add strategy. There are a couple of strategies that are already designed around the key reversal technical idea, and it's just a matter of adding them to your chart. Click studies, add strategy, and you will find in the list of strategies that they're named exactly as the indicator. We have 4 of them though: LELX, SESX. They have different order action, and those letters at the very end tell you what the order action is. LE for long entry, LX for long exit, SE for short entry, and then SX for short exit. Let's go ahead and do something. I'm gonna do the long entries, and let's do the long side first. I'm gonna do the long entry and the long exit. Now, the long exit, I'm gonna have to take a look at the definition of the long exit just to see what the exit is, because maybe the exit is whenever a key reversal in the opposite direction shows up. Let's go ahead and take a look. I'm gonna click OK to that. And that's exactly what it does. This is a strategy that only takes long trades. And let me open up the chart a little bit. I'm going to add some bar spacing so we can see what's going on here. We're going to take a look at this trade where my cursor is. This is the key reversal long entry. And it happened because it identified a key reversal. Everybody sees the blue dot right here where my cursor is? The blue dot represents the confirmation of a key reversal. We go through the settings again. We have a lower low that is lower than the prior low, and then we have a closing price that is higher than the prior closing price. So this is a perfect key reversal up. The strategy sees that it happened. What does it do? It generates a trade for the next bar. Now, the next bar trade happens on the opening price of the bar. Why? Because the trade was generated on the prior bar. The trade is generated on the bar where the condition happened, or where it found the condition, generates a trade for the following bar, and the next available tick where the strategy is able to fill that trade is on the opening tick of the bar. So if I click on the background of this chart and I hold my mouse button, I can see the details of that trade. If you look at the bottom of this tooltips, you'll see that the strategy bought 100 shares at $590.38, $590.38. If I look at the prices in this same tooltips window, you can see that that matches my opening price. The opening price, you can see it right there at the top, is $590 or $590.38. So the strategy was able to generate a trade and fill it at the opening price of that bar. What did it use as an exit? Well, if we continue on our price trajectory here, we can see that several bars later, another blue dot showed up. What is this blue dot? What does it represent? It represents another key reversal up. The strategy sees that and it says, I should be placing a trade, but I'm not placing a trade. Why? Because I am already in a position. That's exactly what it does. The strategy double checks to see if you're in a position or not. And if it sees you are already long, it will not increase your position size. You could, however, increase your position size if you wanted to, and call it a pyramiding strategy, where as the strategy triggers the signal multiple times, is going to increase your position size because you're going in the right direction. Of course, that doesn't mean that the strategy is working better, because that could mean that it's magnifying the problem. So a lot of times you have to be careful as to whether you want to turn pyramiding on or not. By default, it's turned off. So the strategy will not do anything if it sees that you are already in a trade. If you are in an opposing trade, let's say that instead of doing the shorted, it wants to go short. I mean, instead of doing the long, it wants to go short. Well, if that's the case, then it'll cancel your long trade. So it'll exit the number of shares you have long and then reverse you to that short position in the same number of shares. But that only happens if you have an opposing trade. If you have the same direction trade, like in this one example, where you have another long trade, it says, you are already in a trade, I want trade again. But notice what happens when it found a signal that was opposite. That was not a key reversal up, it was a key reversal down. So now we have a key reversal down. What should I do? The strategy generates an exit. Let me go ahead and squeeze my scale here a little bit, so you can see the name of the exit. It's a key reversal LX, which is my long exit, which is triggered whenever a key reversal down shows up. One of the red dots show up. Does that make sense? Hopefully, because the next red shot, I mean, the next red dot here is another key reversal down, but we don't have the short side of the strategy, so it doesn't do anything. It only enters when you have a long trade that down here. This long trade down here was not profitable. You can see that it entered the trade the next bar. It didn't have enough momentum to drive the prices up. In fact, you can see the prices dropping a little bit, and it wasn't until we got that other key reversal down that it was able to exit your trade at a loss. You can see that that connecting red line just represents that you have a losing trade. But the nice thing about having this strategy is that you can apply it on your chart analysis and have an idea of how this simple strategy would have worked or not. In this case, James, I see your question. In this case, in this example that I'm showing you, yes, every bar represents 1 day. Why? Because I'm looking at a daily. You can see my time frame is daily. If I were to change the time frame to 5 minutes, then every candle or every bar would represent 5 minutes. But in this case, yes, it's a daily chart. All right, so let's go ahead and squeeze the chart more. Down arrow. Let me go and reset the scale so I can see the chart right here. Okay. We can generate what's called a strategy performance report by going here to the data tab and clicking on strategy performance report. Let's go ahead and take a look. This is a historical backtest on Spider. We can see at the very top the date range. It's from January 2023 to January 2025. So we have 2 years worth of historical data. This has additional calculations like select total net profit, adjusted total net profit, that are additional calculations that the report does. I can collapse this report and make it simpler and just focus on things that are, basic. And then I can drill down into the expanded view if I wanted to. But in this case, just basic calculations. I have total number of trades, 30, which, provides me a sizable list of trades. But for my taste, this is a personal preference. I think 30 days or 30 trades in a time span of 2 years is very little to make a confident assumption whether this strategy works or not. However, you can see that the strategy does keep you positive. We have a profit factor of 2.82, which means that for every dollar that we lose, we make $2.82. Now, again, we go back to what we said at the very beginning. Historical performance is no guarantee of future results. So we all need to be aware that this is just how the strategy behaved using historical movements, as you saw right here on the chart. Angela is asking, if you use this study in real time, does it place orders for you or simply signal you to place the trade yourself? It does both, Angela. So you can turn on what's called strategy automation with confirmations on, which means that the strategy will alert you and say, hey, a trade needs to be placed. And it's not until you, the trader, that manually submits the trade that the strategy will be aligned with you. Or you can have a fully automated strategy where you say, okay, I'm going to turn on the strategy and let it trade for me. I am going to stay within the vicinity of my computer just in case something happens, like a power outage, an internet hiccup. I can still walk over to my computer and interact with it. I'm not going to automate a strategy and then go play golf and come back, a few hours later, because any strategy that is automated, of course, needs monitoring. Okay. That's the strategy. There's a few parameters here on the key reversal that you can set. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. I'm going to go to studies, edit studies. Some of the things that I like to do, for example, let me go ahead and click on customize. There's an input here that says length. Now, length lets you determine the amount of historical data that it looks at in order to determine if it's the lowest high or the lowest low. A lot of times, we look at these key reversals and they're, back to back. And a lot of times, that doesn't make them as important. When you have something that is sporadic, maybe that is a more significant event. But when something happens back to back, up and down, it loses significance because it's happening so many times. And that's because, maybe the criteria that it's looking for, it's a little bit lax. It's not as restrictive. So maybe going into the inputs and modifying the parameters may make these signals a little bit more restrictive. For example, if I go here back to edit studies, I'm going to edit the key reversal up, and I'm going to change that input to 10. And I'm going to do the same thing for the down. Customize, and I'm going to change that to 10. And then click on close. What does that do? Of course, that did not change the strategy, by the way. It only changed my key reversals. Now I can go into the strategy and change them too. Let me go here and disable my strategy for now. Let me disable my strategy. Okay, perfect. Now take a look at this the signals here. Take a look at the signals here. Let me go ahead and edit the key reversal here, because what we did is we're looking back 10 days and making sure that the price that we're looking at is the lowest or the highest price for that 10 look back period. And you can see that a lot of dots were removed. We had a whole bunch of blue dots down here that are not there anymore, because the blue dots here are looking for highest highs. Now let's go ahead and make a comparison. Let me go back here into the key reversal up and change this back to 1. Okay, so we have all these right here. These have to be the lowest in the past 10 bars. You can see clearly that some of these are not the lowest in the past 10 bars. This one is, because if you count 10 bars back from here, this is the lowest point. But here, this key reversal, like this blue dot, I'm going to count the bars back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 bars, and we have a new key reversal. So if we make that parameter a 10, of course, this blue dot is going to disappear because it doesn't meet the threshold. It's not the lowest price in the past 10 bars. There is a lowest price. So let me go back in here and go to edit, key reversal up, and I'm going to make this a 10. So now, as you can see, that it removes all those buttons or all those dots, because now we're making the key reversal a little bit more restrictive. If we were to apply that condition to the strategy, of course, it's going to change our results completely. Now, will it make the strategy more profitable, less profitable? Of course, is something that we need to test. If you go into the studies and we go to edit strategies, I'm going to go here and double click on the long entry. Sometimes, the parameters for the strategy don't really match the parameters for the indicator. They're kind of created separately. They're using the same conditions, but sometimes you may have to figure out how to make them align. I'm going to customize the long entry. It does have a length. I'm going to turn it into 10. And for the exit, I'm also going to make it a 10. And you can see that it aligns with my signals right now. Of course, the red signals don't have an entry strategy. I'm only focusing on the long ones. But if I go to the strategy performance report, it actually made my profit factor higher. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but I was at 2.8. Now I'm at $5, which is for every dollar that I lose, I make $5. But look at the total number of trades. I had 30, which I thought was a little small. It's a sample that's a little small. But now I have 5, only 5 trades. I have this performance report that is based on only 5 trades. And it's tough for me to have confidence on a strategy when I'm just basing my decisions on 5 trades. In 2 years, this is something that you have to look at as well. It did make my strategy a little bit better in terms of profitability, but not quite in a good sample of strategies that I can have confidence on. So these are things that you have to put into a balance and try to analyze a technical idea to see if something works or doesn't work. I know that key reversal is something that is used many times. A lot of traders use key reversals to decide whether they want to enter, exit trades, or use it in combination with other ideas or technical ideas. And one of the nice things about TradeStation is that you can take those ideas and test them against real price data. So the question here from Pam, why doesn't the lowest bar have a blue reversal dot? Because of the high criteria. Are we talking about this one right here? That's a good question. So we are looking at key reversal. So remember that the key reversal is not only a pivot point. Maybe we're confusing the key reversal with a pivot. A pivot's totally different. This is more like a pivot than a key reversal. Remember that a key reversal, not only you're looking for lowest lows, but you're also looking for that closing price to be higher than the closing price of the prior bar. So if we look at this lowest point right here, yes, it has a closing price but is not quite higher than the previous one. So it doesn't meet the criteria of the key reversal, although it does meet the criteria of a pivot. This is a pivot low, which has, bars on the left and bars on the right that create this kind of a V shape in a pivot. That's a different technical idea. And we have those indicators as part of TradeStation as well. So let me go ahead and remove these key reversals. I'm going to disable them. I'm going to disable the strategy. And if I go to the studies and I go to add studies, in the show me category, again, you're going to find pivots, pivot high and pivot low. Let me go ahead and add them both. The same as we did on the key reversal, I can change the style to something thicker. So this is the key reversal high. Let's make those blue. And then you have the key reversal low, and I'll make those red with the style a little bit thicker. Of course, you can change the defaults so you don't have to change those colors every single time you add them. I haven't changed them because I like to keep my TradeStation with the default parameters. That way, my TradeStation always looks like yours and there's no confusion. But now you can see that here, this key reversal, maybe I selected, opposite colors, but you can see how prominent this pivot low was, and this indicator does identify it. Now, do we have strategies based on pivots? I think we do. If I go here to studies and add strategies, they may be a little bit different. I have a pivot extension. Let's see if this works with our pivot idea. I'm going to select both the long entry and the short entry. Okay. So here's a pivot extension. And I think, let's look at because the pivot indicator is one indicator that looks at strength on both sides of the study. And you can determine how many bars am I looking for on the left side and how many bars am I looking on the right side. So whenever you have these significant levels, which a lot of times align with key support and resistance levels, whenever you have this level identified, there's a number of bars. You can say, I want this level to have not been touched for the past 10, 20 bars. The same for the ones on the right. I want this point to be the highest or the lowest level before and after a specific number of bars. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the indicator says. I'm going to go and studies and edit studies. Let me do the pivot high and customize it. And in the inputs, you're going to see that we have a left strength set to 3 and the right strength set to 3. Let's go ahead and increase that a little bit more. I'm going to set it to 5. So 5 bars on the left, 5 bars on the right. And this has an offset functionality that pretty much just moves the dot higher or lower, depending on what that offset number is. In this case, it's just offsetting it 1 tick. That's a manual offset. It's not really a technical calculation. That's if you want to remove the dot to be right on top of the bar. A lot of times, some traders don't like that the dot is drawn right on top of the bar, and they use this offset to move the dot away from the bar. So that's on the high. This is on the high pivots. And I can do the same thing for the low. Let's change those to 5. And that's it. And close. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the strategy and see if the strategy has similar inputs. I'm going to edit the strategy. Let's take a look at the pivot extension long entry. And you can see that it has similar. So let's go ahead and change them both to 5. Left strength and right strength, and see if it aligns with my pivot indicator. Okay. So the strategy, the strategy may be a little bit different than my indicator, because you can see how my dots don't really align with what the strategy is doing. So the strategy may be looking at something different, and I may have to go into the easy language to identify what it is. And I knew this going into inserting them because the names are different. Now, if we looked at the key reversal strategy, the key reversal show me was named exactly as the key reversal strategy. So there was some alignment there. When you went into the pivots, yeah, we have a show me that aligns with pivots, but then the strategy is looking at something different. If you wanted to do, that analysis yourself, you need a little bit of understanding in easy language. Yeah, James, this is the past. If you wanted to look at today is right here, the very front of the chart. I mean, even though I'm looking at historical data, this is a what's called a real-time chart. So I'm looking at Spider, and Spider is updating in real time over here on the right. If I wanted to turn this on, that's why I said at the beginning, if you wanted to turn this on for automation, you could by just turning it on, and the strategy would do the calculations for you right here on the current bar. But yeah, all this that we're looking at is all historical. It's all hypothetical. If you wanted to take a look at what the difference is, let me go ahead and take a look at, for example, the long entry. And I can do that by going here into Studies, Edit Strategies, and I'm going to the long entry, and I can go to the easy language. I know many of you may not probably have not coded easy language before. I always recommend that you learn a little bit because it does allow you to understand what the indicator is looking for and the differences. Let's go ahead and take a look at this is the strategy, and I'm going to this is a pivot low. So the long entry strategy is looking at the pivot low because it feels that there's going to be an extension of that price formation. The pivot low is the V shape, right? So if there's an extension of that V shape, it's going to be on the long side. So that's why it's looking at the pivot low. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let me go back here to TradeStation and see if I can do the same thing for the studies. I'm going to go to Edit Studies, and there was to be the pivot low. And let's go to the Edit Easy Language. So that way I can have the two tabs open. Right here at the top, I have the strategy and I have the pivot low. Okay. Yeah, they're a little different. You can see how the pivot low uses a function that is called pivot low VS bar. And the strategy is using a function that's pivot low VS. So it's not looking at a bar specific, it's just looking at the low itself. Okay, maybe I understand what is going on here, what the difference is. Because we have a short entry right here. Just a moment, let me just take a look because next bar at market, buy, next bar at market, left strength, right strength. Yeah, I'd have to look into the easy language for that. So in this particular example, yeah, the strategy and the indicator don't align, but we could create a strategy very easily with that little bit of knowledge of easy language so that you can test, these pivot highs. In addition to, the pivot high, which is a simple bar formation as well, the V shape for the pivot low and the A shape for the pivot high, those are very simple, and you have to specify, the strength on the left and the strength on the right. Of course, you can play with those numbers, especially on the strategy. We have this optimization engine that allows you to optimize the strategy. Before I remove the strategy, let's go ahead and take a look at how this performs. Okay. Well, this particular strategy has long trades and short trades, and you can see how the long trades perform much better than what the short trades did. When we were looking at the key reversal, we were only concentrating on the long trades, and those were the ones that were, performing well. And it's understandable because in the past 2 years, the markets has performed in a bullish type of scenario. So it's understandable that long trades would perform better than short trades. And we can see that clearly when we apply strategies to market conditions like these. We can see how the long trades usually perform better than the short trades because of the way that the market is headed. But it's very interesting that we're able to take this strategy and apply it to the chart to see its performance. Other indicators that I wanted to show you. So we have those extensions that allow you to monitor if it extends in the same way. And if you go to the Show Me studies, let's go here again. You have in the Show Me category, you have this other pivot reversal. These are interesting. Let me show you the up one, key reversal up, reversal, so we can understand what it's doing. This is the type of study that looks at a prior key reversal and it tells you when it's broken. Let's see, let's look at an example. Actually, this is the pivot. This is a pivot reversal. So it finds a pivot. For example, if you look at the price activity right here, this is a pivot. Why? Because you look at a high price and it has a few bars on the left that are lower and a few bars on the right that are lower. It creates this A shape with a pivot at the very top. But then it tracks that pivot price. And whenever that pivot price is penetrated, that's what's being signaled right here. So the yellow dot is just letting you know whenever a prior pivot high has been penetrated. Now, of course, that's called a reversal. That's why the indicator, the show me, is called a pivot high reversal or a pivot reversal up. Just letting you know when that reversal is broken. So anytime that you look at that yellow dot, look back. It identifies where that pivot is and is showing you where that breakup or breakout is happening. Of course, we don't have a strategy that aligns with this exactly, but it would be interesting if we could create a strategy that goes with that idea, identifies the pivot high. A pivot high is similar to a resistance level. And once that resistance is broken, it creates a breakout scenario. Now take a look at this one right here. It broke out that level and the market headed up a few days after that. And it may happen, multiple times. Like, for example, right here, we had a breakout and it continues up. As I said, we don't have a strategy that aligns with this concept, but it's an interesting idea, right? And if you want to also look at the other side, I just added, the up, but I can go to studies, add studies, show me, and this is a pivot reversal on the downside. It's clearly the same thing, but on the opposite side, And as we said before, these are the ones that are on the short side. On a uptrending market, a lot of the short entries are not going to be very favored. And that's why a lot of times we concentrate on long entries when the market is in a bullish mode. But you can see many times right here that there's been a penetration on a pivot low. The market doesn't necessarily go in a bearish mode. Well, here it did. We can see that there was a penetration on this pivot low, but the market only went down for a few days and then it recovered and went in the strong direction that it's been recently. So guys, this is great. All these technical tools that are part of the TradeStation platform are available to everyone that joins TradeStation. You have show me's, you have strategies, all allowing you to test ideas and see if it's something that you want to trade going forward. We answered a couple questions today about strategy automation. Yes, all these ideas can be automated. They can be analyzed against historical data. TradeStation has a massive historical database that you can tap into, all the different symbols. And this is only on equities, by the way. This is an ETF, but you can test these strategies on futures, on options, and see if this is something that you want to trade going forward. Okay. So I don't see any more questions. So I'm going to say that the class was okay to follow. If you have any questions, please let me know. Everybody knows that they can reach me at education tradestation.com. Let me put in that email address right here in the chat. Feel free to send any questions there. If you have any problems with the platform, though, we have a customer support team that is available, to you every single day. So if you need immediate assistance, please use that phone number. If you send an email to education, it may take me a few days before I can respond. So I appreciate your patience. So I don't monitor that inbox a lot, but whenever emails come in, I'll provide an answer to you. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I hope that I can see you in one of my future classes. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.